The Doom franchise on the Steam Deck, we got Doom 2016, Doom 1+2, that they got proper PC ports now, which is interesting. Doom 3, the expansions are also Doom 3, so we're skipping over those. Doom 64 and Doom Eternal, so let's get to them right away. So the first Doom, again this is a PC port with mod support and all that good stuff. So 800p 90Hz, Vulkan maximum resolution, which again you can play the original with the original pixel count if you want to, so for even more battery life, but let's keep it on maximum to match the pixel count. FOV, you can go pretty high, let's keep it at 90 degrees. View bobbing, I'm not a big fan of that. Screen size, you can increase it or decrease it like in previous ports in very low-end machines at the time. You can increase the brightness. Let's keep it at 25 maybe, or yeah, let's keep it at 0. And the automap line thickness. There's a lot of options here, so you can fiddle around as much as you like, actually. And before I forget, we are at a TDP limit of 5 watts. I think 4 should do the job, actually. Yeah, we're at 4 watts TDP, so this is like 8 hours of battery. So yeah, we're always running, of course, it's Doom. And as you would expect, it works completely fine. The fan is not even, yeah, it wasn't even running, now it is. But this is 8 hours of battery on a full charge. Which, I mean, it runs on, Doom runs on anything, so you can actually even mod it. But this is the classic experience with an actual modern hardware PC port. So yeah, this works pretty damn well. Obviously, to be expected, but you can play at 90 Hz. If you want even more battery life, you can do it at 60 Hz as well, but I think 90 Hz is pretty smooth and a great experience anyway. So just a reminder, this includes Doom 1 and 2, but it also includes Master Levels, TNT Evolution, Plutonia Experiments, No Rest for the Living, Sigil, and Legacy of Rust. So let's go now to Doom 2. So weird to see this. So now same settings for Doom 2. As you can see, it remembers your settings, which is wonderful. And again, 90 Hz, 4 watts, I think I put it here. Yeah, 4 watts. And again, 8 hours of battery. If you lock it to 60, even more. But the fan, most of the time, is not even running. It's at 0 RPM. But as I was mentioning before, it's a PC port, a newer PC port for modern hardware of the original. So yeah, Doom 2 was also to be expected to be good. And you can play at 90 Hz just fine. Doom 64, this one has a weird menu font. You can also have filtering on rough, anti-aliasing, SMAA, FXAA. I'll put filtering on and SMAA, just personal preference, of course. You can increase also the brightness of the environment, max FPS, all that, and the FOV. Let's increase it a little bit. Blood color red, of course. Then when it comes to video, Vulkan full screen 90 Hz. This one, and on this one, when it comes to wattage, since I'm doing 90 FPS, to avoid stuttering, I cannot put it at 4 watts. Otherwise, it's going to have uneven frame times. So I would say 8 watts should be good enough. We're going to still have lots of battery life. Although, let me enable interpolation. I think that was the problem. That's why it looks like 30 FPS when it comes to the weapon. Okay, so there I made a mistake. Interpolation, I would say, is necessary. Otherwise, the guns look like are at 30 FPS. And we got this one very recently on PC. I think it was included with my copy of Doom Eternal when I bought it on release day. So you probably have this on your Steam library. If you don't, well, it's usually pretty cheap. This is like similar to the originals. I think the TDP, let's keep it unlocked. Let the Steam Deck do its thing. Otherwise the frame times are weird, and this is an old game. Let's be honest here, it shouldn't be problematic to get 90 FPS. Don't miss it on Steam Deck. Looks really great on the OLED screen. It's super smooth. You can also, if you want more battery life, play at 60 Hz instead. I think, considering the age of this game and the graphics, just run it at 90. Come on. It's not an issue. Take advantage of your screen, for crying out loud. I didn't even know it existed until I got it on my Steam library. Due to... yeah, I don't know why I got it. I think it was due to Doom Eternal being pre-ordered or something. So yeah. Let's jump into the next one. This one, as you can see, is completely fine. And it's still badass, considering its age. Once Doom 3 is launched, you'll have the official id Software configuration, which is trackpad and emulated keyboard and mouse. Well, using the trackpad, choose settings using the trigger as left click. Game options. No, not game options. Controls. And here where it says controller input, hit enabled, then hit settings. Now click on the Steam key, go to controller settings. As you can see, using the official layout, go to templates, choose gamepad with mouse trackpad, hit X. Now you have a gamepad, and since the game now knows that we're using a gamepad, well, we can use the normal controls using a gamepad instead of emulated mouse and keyboard. After you get the emulated mouse and keyboard disabled and the controller enabled, make sure you're at 800p. If you're on the LCD Steam Deck, 60 Hz, 2x MSAA, no motion blur, texture LOD bias at the maximum, and that's basically it. Doom 3, as you can see, 90 FPS no problem, GPU usage is super low. Again, we're in constrictor environments in a game like this. Also, we have a lot of dynamic lights, which is super interesting. I never played this one. When it came out, I was too scared to play Doom, even the original. I don't know what the games were about really. I wasn't really much of a hardcore gamer back then. So yeah, this is new for me. I never played the Doom 3. So it's interesting to see it actually running so well. Back then it was very difficult to run, but now, I mean, it runs at 90 FPS no problem on the Steam Deck. Looking at this, obviously battery life, probably 4.5 to 6 hours, depending on what's going on. But it was to be expected, right? It's a pretty old game at this point. The only thing that I would criticize of this game on Steam Deck is that by default it doesn't have gamepad support enabled. You need to enable it yourself and then do the rest on your own, but it's pretty simple. I already showed you how to do it at the start of this part. But I think for newbies that's going to be an issue, especially if you don't know, if you never did it before. I mean, yeah, you can see how I did it myself because I showed you, but if you're not watching my video, it's not a foolproof way to get it. If somebody that doesn't know how to do it opens the game and sees that the controller doesn't work, they're probably going to say, oh, this doesn't work. That's probably why it's marked as unsupported, in my opinion, but we'll see. So, oh, it's a zombie now, gotcha. Kill zombies. But hey, actually, considering its age, this game looks pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. And also with the 90 FPS, it's super smooth. If you want more than 4.5 hours on a full charge, you probably want to lock it to 60. So yeah, on the Steam Deck OLED is fantastic, on the LCD it will be fantastic as well. You can even do 90 FPS. Sometimes the fan turns off, so that should tell you That should tell you how little this game uses in terms of resources. If you're trying to get 60s, you're probably going to get something like, you can get away with 6 watts, I think. If you're going above 60, just let the Steam Deck tweak the TDP by itself. But this looks pretty good, and you don't need more than 2 times MSAA, in my opinion. 2 times on a smaller screen like this looks completely fine. So yeah, pretty atmospheric. It looks pretty good. And it runs well, so what else do you need? Anyway, let's jump into the next one. Alright, so when it comes to settings on Doom 2016, motion blur on low, this is the amount of motion blur. I want it to be as subtle as possible. FOV 95 degrees, maybe 100, but in a small screen, I highly recommend not going above 100 degrees. Then on the advanced settings, we're targeting 90 FPS, so I need to do a few adjustments. The resolution scale, maybe put it at 85. Yeah, 85. Light quality on medium, shadows as well. Directional occlusion is the ambient occlusion. The rest, keep it on high. When it comes to reflections, medium is fine. Particles on medium as well. And the motion blur quality, put in an ultra, but we have very little amount of motion blur, so that should be okay. And that's basically the settings. So apply the settings, restart the game, and let's go back. Okay, so welcome to Doom 2016. This is one of my favorites. Personally, I'm targeting 90 because this is a Steam Deck OLED. You can increase the settings on target 60s. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay at 90 for long. But despite the resolution drop, the actual game looks pretty sharp on the smaller screen. Dynamic resolution mode, but it was a little bit finicky to... You need commands to enable it. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Most people are not going to use a dynamic resolution mod. So while 90s would be nice, you can keep sacrificing the resolution, but it doesn't stay there very long. So even at 85% resolution, maybe let me try 66%, which would be like quality FSR. Okay, with 66% resolution, it looks noticeably blurrier. We're still dropping below 90 FPS. And I'm on this map on purpose because it drops frames. It's one of the demanding ones. My advice for most people, targeting 60, because it's the best you can get, in my opinion, out of this, and better battery life. Basically high settings with medium reflections, that's basically it. On Vulkan, open the Steam Deck's menu, and here lock it to 60. With that you get better battery life, more consistency, might drop below 60 a few times, but you can put it at 90% resolution if you want to iron those out. Here I'm on purpose in a map that actually drops frames when I'm looking at this reflection. Yeah, it drops into the 40s. So I'm pushing a little bit too hard. Again, I would probably just sacrifice a bit of resolution, but this shouldn't be the norm. This is one of those levels. It also drops frames when you're doing a glory kill due to the depth of field, but it's not 100% necessary to disable it, because when you're in a glory kill, you're not actually playing the game, you're looking at it. But I think in those moments when you're doing the glory kill, it's okay to drop frames. The thing is, when you're attacking enemies and all that, if you want me to do a separate video trying my hardest to get 90 FPS, let me know. But it seems to be limited by keeping one core at 100%. So again, if you want a more in-depth test of this one and try to make it as smooth as humanly possible, test it on more levels, not only this one, please let me know. Because usually I do a pretty surface level showing when I'm doing a franchise, so if you're interested, please let me know. It would be cool to have an idea on what to expect. And finally, Doom Eternal, 800p. Obviously, No ray tracing on this one, as you can see there. Then when it comes to settings, I'm using a mix of low, medium and high because I'm targeting 90 FPS. So we're getting something like that. Then when it comes to resolution scaling, we're at dynamic. That means we enable dynamic resolution and our target will be 90 FPS. And as you can see, there's a lot of letters on the screen. Well, the in-game FPS counter at the right tells you all the information that we need. And the information that we need also is the resolution scale. We have dynamic resolution. And as you can see in that red graph, it tells you when it's dropping resolution in order to hit 90 FPS. So when I'm looking into a distance here, it can drop as low as 50%. But I'm doing this on purpose, this part again, because here is when I drop frames in the past. But it runs surprisingly well, obviously, as you can see here. So 90 FPS should be there most of the time. There's moments, again, when it needs to drop the resolution in order to get there, which I think is fine. On a handheld, I mean, the screen is smaller, should be less noticeable. So also it drops like on the previous game in Glory Kills, which again, heavy depth of field plus the background, and you're not touching anything when you're performing one of those Glory Kills. I think that's something to keep in mind. But most of the time it's into the 90s. Let's go into an even more demanding scenario called the Super Gore Nest. As I probably clarified already, this is the worst of the worst. This is as bad as it gets, to say it in some way. When you're on Earth in certain sections, as I showed you a moment ago, it likes dropping some frames here and there. But in Super Gore Nest, there's a lot of reflective surfaces, a good amount of enemies, as you can probably notice. And it's a bit larger map than usual. And as you can probably notice with the resolution scale, it's flying all over the place, because it's changing the resolution to try to maintain 90s. Would I recommend it like this? Actually, yes, I've been playing the game like this for a few months. It's been a great experience so far. Oh, how to dash. I mean, this is the only moment when I play the game with a controller using the Steam Deck OLED. In other moments, it's just mouse and keyboard for me. It looks great. Looks great, and the dynamic resolution that's happening is not that obvious. I mean, you have to be looking at it very closely. While it also has HDR, I really don't see much of an improvement, honestly. It looks a little bit too dark with HDR. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Some games just don't have a good HDR implementation. Not sure if this is one of them. Oh man, I love this one. But in the worst case scenario, you drop into the 80s, 70s, in the Super Gore Nest. Again, not the norm. But I think it's good to keep it in mind. But if you want a separate video testing ray tracing, 6 FPS, big battery life mode, which I call it, which is 6 FPS, please let me know. Again, in franchise videos like this, I don't go super in depth with all the options that you have. But I think on this one it will be worth it, because ray tracing actually works on Steam Deck in this game, funnily enough. Might feel unnecessary, but I think it's interesting, so again, let me know if you're interested, and I'll make a video. Then when it comes to the entire franchise, it's basically plug and play, except in Doom 3. Doom 3 requires you to enable the controller, change the Steam Deck controller scheme back and forth once, and you're good to go. But I'm surprised to see that I didn't need any mods whatsoever. I mean, the games work right out of the box with very little changes on my end. You don't need to do much in order to get them working. And there's controller support on all of them. There's also mod support for Doom 1 and 2. You can install mods as well on the other games, but it requires a little bit more effort. Which again, if you want me to do, for example, a separate video on Doom 2 ray traced, I can also do that. The issue with that one is that it doesn't work for me on Linux. On Windows it did launch, but on Linux I couldn't get Doom 2 ray traced to actually work. It's crashing on startup. And I don't know why. So if you're interested in a separate video for that, which again requires you to have Windows on deck, please let me know as well. But overall, super satisfied with Doom on the Steam Deck, the entire franchise. The game looks fantastic. You can do dynamic resolution on this one and play at 80 to 90 FPS. And they're just smooth and good to play. Yeah, smooth is the word I'll be using. Especially this one. This one is ridiculously well optimized. I mean, what the hell? Even ray tracing can be enabled on this one. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, click the bell, check out the Steam Deck playlist in the pinned comment. I have lots of content on Steam Deck, so you can basically see how everything and anything works on deck. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys, thanks for watching.